Welcome to the Prosperity in a Pandemic show. And the reason we chose to start doing this show, and we're getting some great feedback, is because we had so many folks, and still are having challenges. We're all going through challenges, but how do we actually take action and find prosperity? And not just this is not about a money grab in any way. This is about how do we help our clients prosper while we're prospering. And today is going to be no different. Today, my guest is Todd Walker, CEO of Entropic Studios, who's been for years working with nonprofits, B Corps, organizations that are making a difference. And they're struggling and having challenges just like every other organization, but yet we can actually make a difference right now by doing a few things, which we're going to start to discuss. And before I jump into the questions with you, Todd, I just want to mention the Wow Client Webcast. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today, you firsthand have taken into your life, into your business, and been able to help a lot more organizations by utilizing those. And we're giving that away for free as well. So you can, in the links, whatever social media tool you're using to watch this, we can get you to that webcast so that you can start learning in a deeper way what we're doing. And so I want to start off, Todd, with, when you noticed that this pandemic was becoming a pandemic, because I think at first we're like, okay, how long is this going to take? Are we going to weather this? And then all of a sudden we started to notice, oh, this isn't going away. This is a long-term thing here. What became most important when you noticed that this was a marathon?
I would say the biggest thing that I noticed was that more people needed help. In the beginning, a lot of people were choosing to do one of two things: pivot or sit back and wait until it was over and things were back to normal. Okay. And so that was literally one of the biggest things, was to realize that people are sitting there waiting for things to go back to normal, and they weren't pivoting.
Got it. And what became most important for you when you noticed that?
Yeah, so being someone that comes from 2 decades of working in marketing, often our job is to come up with those creative solutions, to think outside of the box. And so for me, it was important to reach out and see if my clients could benefit from thinking outside of the box. How could I help the salon owners who were forced to close? How could I help them stay in touch with their clients? How could I help the restaurants that I have as clients? How could I help them communicate with their clients that they were either closed or open, but only open for delivery or pickup? And so it was important to me to see how I could use that creativity, that thinking outside of the box, that stuff that I've been doing for so long. How could I use that to help not only my clients, but also my community as well?
Right. Well, thank you. And that is important, because otherwise business just stops. And then what happens? Then we can only survive so long with the assistance that has been given, whether you got anything from, the Small Business Association or any of the other things that were going on. But then again, that all has a limit. How much is it going to do? So if we don't take action. So I guess I'm curious, if you could tell me what's been the biggest success through these conversations and the thinking outside the box. If you were to pick off, one or two of the biggest successes that you've had during this period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I have been practicing as of late is making 10-minute calls to as many people within my community and existing clients as I can. And when you ask what has been the biggest benefit for me, it was the ability to help everyone that I spoke to on the phone. Now, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean that they became my client and I was being paid to increase their marketing or work on their website or anything like that. I mean, if I was asking the correct questions and doing my job at listening, I could actually hear what was challenging them, stopping them, and keeping them from moving forward, and then guide them in the right direction. And sometimes that direction included working with me, and sometimes that direction was another direction. And because of my experience and my involvement in the community and with referral marketing, I have a lot of resources that I know, like, and trust that I could then hand them off to. So it was really the ability to not only reach out, but to help as many people as I could as a client, and then just as helping out.
Understood. And I think previously, I don't know, one of the last times we talked, you had said you'd turned away. We use that. I don't know if you use that word, but you passed off. You like you said, referred them somewhere else, more people than you end up working with, right? But yet you're
Yep.
still working with more people now than you did in 2019.
Absolutely. And so when I just mentioned the part about asking the right questions and doing my part on listening, uh, I've been working on those skills a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years. And it allowed me to hear what they were saying. And then you're right. I wasn't necessarily passing up on business because the business wasn't mine to begin with. And so they might have thought they needed a new website or, social media strategy or other digital marketing stuff. But when I actually got down to what their challenges were, um, it, the actual challenge wasn't part of that. And so, had I not been able to listen and ask those questions to get deeper into their challenges, I wouldn't have been able to hand it off to another trusted resource, whether that was copywriting or SEO or digital video and marketing or Facebook ads or things that I know other people specialize in.
Got it. Yeah. And with that, being able to have these shorter conversations, like 10-minute calls, connect with others, refer them where they needed, even if it wasn't what they thought they needed. That's what I'm hearing. You were able to start to guide more folks. And and then sometimes you worked with them if it was appropriate, but with having that and having that flow, what does having that do for you?
Oh man, it really, I often say that when I had my agency and we were, churning out amazing, beautiful websites, that when clients came to me, um, the challenge that I was seeing inherently before they even started the conversation was that something was wrong with their website, that they needed a new website or revamp their website, and oftentimes they thought that was the issue as well. Now, what the questioning and those 10-minute calls and whatnot, what that did was it helped me really find the people that needed me. And so I ended up with the right clients, right? Not that the other clients were wrong, but their challenges, needed to be met by other professionals that I handed them off to. And so the ones that I found that were a good fit by the end of that conversation that needed my help, it was just so synchronistic. It was like, oh my gosh, I do that for my clients. Do you need that kind of help? And they're like, yes. Well, when do you need it? Yesterday, they would often say. And so boom, it just started right from the beginning. I was offering this kind of help, and that was the exact help that they needed. And so right from the start, the relationship was amazing, and I ended up getting more of those clients that needed that exact help rather than before. My practice was to bring them on as a client and then help them with their website. And sometimes that was their challenge and sometimes it wasn't. And we found out through the process. But, now I'm finding out before I even start.
Which is so much better for everyone involved. So it's so
Yeah.
beautiful to hear. And prior to this, having this result, what was the biggest challenge for you before having this success?
Yeah, it was finding those right clients that needed that kind of help that we could fulfill. And then oftentimes I was running into a lot of managing, right? So managing designers and managing developers and admins and the bigger team. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've really been focused on marketing consulting. So instead, it's okay if they have their own web team. It's okay if they have their own marketing team. I'm able to come in and look at it as a bigger picture, right? What are their salespeople saying on the phone? And does that match what their website is saying? Does that match the language that's going out in their email newsletters? Does that match their social media? And so all of a sudden, I'm taking a very holistic approach to the bigger picture rather than just focusing on one piece of the puzzle. As I was doing before. So, one, it's really fulfilling for me to be able to look at the bigger picture and help them with the larger goals that they have. And then again, really listening to what they need and helping them fix those challenges within it has been not only fulfilling, but uh, I've made more money this year in a pandemic than I did previously outside of a pandemic.
Well, I want to talk about that in a moment, but I want to stick with this direction for one more moment. So, what I'm hearing is when you were focusing on selling that one thing, then you weren't always getting all of the most ideal clients, and um, and so when that was happening, how was that affecting you?
Yeah. So, for example, a client would come to me, they need to work on their website. I send them off to do their copywriting and the descriptions for their pages and their service. And if they were really struggling with that, if they didn't know who their wow client was, and they were just guessing, and they didn't really have a mission and a vision, and they were just putting something up, then if we build that website and we start marketing, in the end, it's not going to help them. We didn't clarify their message. We put up a website with a message that wasn't very well thought out, right? And
Yeah.
so, now I'm coming back and being able to look at it holistically. We can bring it back before the website, before that, and really talk to them about who are we addressing? Who are we trying to get? Who is that wow client that you're trying to attract? And we could work on that language so that it could go on their website. It could go in their sales calls. It could go elsewhere. So it feels so much uh, better, not necessarily better. It feels like that was the missing step. Like now I'm able to go back and address those things that were missing rather than just being the web guy waiting for the client to give me copy and then just putting the copy up.
And it's so much more fulfilling because you're helping the client at a higher level, which I want to dive into here in a moment. And before, just for context, if you can just share, because we're doing these, all over the world. Like I'm having some of my clients and folks like yourself come on. So just if you can share briefly your business and where you're located, what is your core purpose, just so that, and then we'll come back to these results you're getting.
Sure, sure. Um, my business is Entropic Studio. We focused on digital marketing for the past 2 decades. So I founded the company in 2000 and it's grown since. We work here in the Bay Area, but we work with a lot of national and international businesses as well. And like Steve said, we focus on nonprofits, B Corps, social enterprises, and really just companies making the world a better place. So, again, if you have a company and you're striving to reframe what a corporation looks like, and you're in it to empower your employees and make their lives better as well as yours, that's we love to work with those kinds of businesses. I love coming home and telling my daughter, hey, we just worked for the Center for Domestic Peace. We're helping hundreds and hundreds of women get out of domestic violence situations by the work that we're doing. And so that's important to me,
Yeah.
to work with those kinds of clients as well. So that's really kind of how I shaped the business and sort of our mission and vision.
Beautiful, which is even more point to having success. So the more success you have, that means the more folks like that you're helping, the people that are making a difference on the planet and for the people here. So, with that said, coming back to what you're saying to go a little deeper, what I'm hearing, I'm just gonna, and tell me what we should add to this, or so what I'm hearing is that you started having more conversations with more folks. So you started initiating, shorter phone calls, so that you can have more contact with folks, and then through that, you've been able to help them by pointing them in the right direction or helping them directly. And I guess what would you, and this is allowed for more success. So you have more clients. You've actually grown your business during this time of the pandemic. You've got more business in 2020 than you have in 2019. And you've been helping more people that are not your client as well. Like, so you've actually, it seems like from what you're saying, you've escalated helping folks no matter if they're paying you or not, but that has resulted in growing the business. And so I guess what would you say is the number one thing that's allowed for this to happen?
It's actually the process of those 10-minute calls, really. The way that I got my business before was a lot of referral marketing. I belong to, referral marketing networking groups and have been doing that for quite a while. And in that, you always practice. This is what a good referral for me is. And you work really hard on educating and being able to educate others on what a good referral for you is. Oftentimes, I would get a referral and then I would meet with that person for an hour to see if it was a good fit and to see, evaluate what their problem was. And then I would put a bid in and then I would follow up on that bid. Sometimes it would be quick and sometimes it would be a month, 2 months, sometimes 6 months to a year. And so this new process that I've been practicing for about a year is with those 10-minute calls and really trying to reach out to my client list, the contacts in my phone, in my contacts on my computer, and going through. And so as you can see, as I'm going through this list, I'm able to help way more people if I'm doing 6 of those in an hour, which I was only able to do 1 previously. And so that has enabled me to A, find more of the clients that are a good fit, and B, help those clients that aren't a good fit find a good fit. So it's a win-win for everybody. So it's been an amazing thing for my business and myself to have a sales process like that I could follow that will not only help me find the clients that I want to work with, but also help other people who aren't even going to be my clients.
Right. And how does that, and well, one, what's going through my head is that, and I'm well aware of this. Obviously, I work with some of the same philosophies. Obviously, that's how as we've worked together. But the idea that you can connect with more folks, and right now during this time, while so many people around the world have been sheltering in place, or as my Australian friends call it, lockdown. They don't have us. They're like, oh, that's a nice word, shelter in place. We just call it lockdown. So it's much more a different word, but ultimately we're having this disconnect of social. And so, I've found it as well. And I just wanted to speak to that, is that what is this, what has it been for you to be able to have more connections through this period of time?
Yeah, it's been a struggle to connect with those people because of our sheltering in place. But again, part of my goal for the year, especially during the pandemic, was to set aside that time to make those calls. I really saw the people in my community, clients and non-clients, really suffering. A lot of them, like I said, were just sitting back waiting. They didn't know what else to do. They were waiting for things to go back to normal. I think we're pretty aware now that that's not going to happen next month or the next month. So it's going to be a while,
Yes.
and we're not sure what the new norm is. And so it's really I've really felt the urgency to make those calls and have those connections, because sometimes, like, I can help them in a 5 or 10 minute call. Oftentimes it's just an idea. Hey, you own a salon. Why you're closed? Maybe you could do some videos on how to cut your kids' hair at home. Maybe you could
Right.
do a video on how to cut your husband's hair, right? So, even if you're doing things that will keep that conversation going with your clients, keep their attention on you. Oh my gosh, look at what so and so's doing. Look at what they just posted today. Even those tiny things will, one, give you something to do so that you're not waiting, right?
Right.
So
Well, and it
it
keeps the
gives them something.
conversation going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
even I've seen it too, and I think you've seen it too with I think some of few folks who both might know, but some of them are doing wear home color kits for women, so then they can, or for men too, some men color their hair too, but basically like, what you can color your hair from home, and then how to do that, and then selling the kit. So then there's a additional revenue opportunity to
Yep.
supplement. And for your clients, like I know I'm rooting for the businesses that I go to, so spending some extra money if you can afford it, right? Like giving a little extra tip, doing things here and there to try to help those businesses. And so I think, don't forget that the people that already work with you, they want to see your business succeed typically. So if they can, if they can afford to do that, and then just enacting them, like you just said, like getting those conversations going. So, but I guess what I'm hearing is the biggest thing for you is just having more conversations, period. I think
Absolutely.
that's what,
Yep. 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 And
and
being trained on how to listen.
right. Because it's not about like, 'cause in contrast to how we started this, this show today, you're talking about how you would have this one track, like, okay, I'm looking for a website. I'm looking for a website. Now you're saying, how can I help you? I may be able to help you. Maybe I'm not going to be able to help you. Then, here's where to send them. And now, like you said, you're helping more people. You're helping people that you're not going to work with, and you're also finding in all this, you're finding more people that are a good fit for you to work with, right?
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
yeah.
It, it,
And
it,
yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry. I was just going to say, it really, when I had that one thing, the conversation would, we would kind of skirt around their budget, and whatnot. And now that I'm having these conversations, it's like, okay, how much money do you have? How much do you want to spend? Because that's going to determine where I send you, right? I have, after doing this for 2 decades, I have an amazing amount of resources for developers and designers and SEO people and, whatnot. And so now, since I'm just being honest and trying to help, it's so much easier to ask those questions rather than, oh my gosh, I need to get this job. I don't want to ask them about the budget if if they don't want to talk about it, or if it offends them, or they just want me to put a bid in and they don't want to tell me how much money they have, right? So they're kind of
Right.
tire kicking. And so now it's just so much more easy to be honest and say, hey, I'd love to help you. How much money do you have? And I will send you to the person that could do the best job for your budget.
Right. Right. It's it becomes transparency on both sides, because some people don't want to reveal their budget because they think that oh, then they're going to spend it all. And from my years in marketing, I would always say yes. My job is to spend your money the best we can. So you tell me the number, and then we'll spend it the best we can. And if you have 10 grand or 100 grand or a million, all three of those marketing campaigns are going to be completely different. We're going to spend the
Yep.
money differently according to what is possible for you. So I'm 100% understanding what you're saying. And from our time working together, do you feel like this is the biggest thing that you took away from our work together, or is there anything else that in addition to having more conversations and being really open and authentic, because I'm hearing that loud and clear. And then that's just driving more business. So awesome for that. And way to take action with that, Todd, because now just by having more conversations, you're helping more people, whether they're paying you or not. So it just
Yep.
helps the abundance of helping. But then also through that, again, I know we keep saying it, but then you're having more business. That aside, is there anything else that has been really big for you during this time?
Well, it's interesting. You keep alluding to the more business, and yes, I am making more money. But my goal is to have more business and more life. So while the business aspect is going good, the more life stuff I would say is challenging. That's been one of the things that has been hard, and let me explain a little bit why. Um, before I went to the office, for years I had my agency, so I'd show up. My employees are there, and then when I went to more of a marketing consultant, I still had an office, and I showed up, and I would be there 6 to 8 hours a day behind the computer working. And then the COVID started, and we are sheltering in place. So now being at home. So even though I was getting more money and having more business, the life part was still challenging because I still felt like I needed to sit behind the computer. I felt that draw of, if I don't sit behind the computer, then I'm not working as hard as I should be. I'm not putting in the hours that I should to have more business and then more business and then more business. And so I would say one of the challenges now is choosing the life that I want. And so now that I have business, I need to schedule in those things that give me more life, time with the kids, time with other hobbies, getting outside, things like that, and not feeling guilty about it. I would say that that's one of the biggest struggles right now, is being able to reframe what I want my days to look like and not feeling guilty when those don't involve sitting behind a computer working.
It's absolutely like been a habit for so many years. Now recalculating this in your mind, and that's why I would say the first step is scheduling it, and then also working on those deeper aspects inside of our mind that tell us that if you're not in front of the computer, you're not working. When in fact, um, if you actually give yourself time, then you'll actually have more energy, and you'll have more mental creativity to help in those challenges when you're on the phone with all these folks that you're talking to. So giving ourselves, because if you're just going call after call after call and you don't give yourself a break, then at a certain point you're not going to be able to give the advice that you're giving. You're not going to have recharged your batteries, and in the end it's not going to be as successful. And then you're also forsaking your family during this time when they probably need some Todd as well, right? so
Right.
and thank you for being so vulnerable around that. And so have you seen an improvement already around the life side?
Yeah, what's interesting is the first step is realizing it's a problem. And
And then
so,
now you're doing something about it?
yeah, now I'm, I've always been practicing for years on owning my calendar, right? Putting the things that I value in the calendar, and then at the end of the day, planning today, tomorrow, right? Planning tomorrow, today. And
Yep.
so now I need to put it in there. And so I've been doing good on putting it in there. And so now I'm just working on that mindset of when I am out hiking and it's 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, or I'm out with the kids or going on a hike with my wife, that it's okay. I don't need to be in front of the computer, and I don't need to have the phone on my hip just in case someone might call, or some business is needed. So now it's really, I got the scheduling in. Now it's the feeling guilty aspect I'm working on.
Yeah, so that you can do that without having that feeling. Well, so it's all in steps, right? We're all making a difference, step by step. And the step
Mm,
by step. So congratulations on noticing, 2, taking action with it, and 3, continue to work through this, and that you're feeling that you're aware that it's a guilt that you're putting on yourself, because you're helping hundreds of people right now making all these calls, and it does add up. If you're contacting 6 people, like you said, a day, then that's over 100 people a month, and this has been months of doing this now. You're into the hundreds of folks that you've been able to help, and maybe a handful of those directly become your client. But then
Mm.
the rest you're sending on in a good way. So, I'm thankful for you illustrating this, because the Wow Client Webcast that I put on, I specifically teach this, how to have shorter conversations more frequently during this time, invoking the conversation. And then you've been exact case of this. By doing these conversations, you've been able to not only help hundreds of people that are not your clients, you're also able to help people that are your clients, and now having this success. So
Yep.
that's quite amazing. And you can register for the webcast. We'll put the link there. But Todd, as we're closing out this, any last words to anybody else that's thinking about doing what you're doing, or they're thinking about coming on the webcast to learn exactly what you did? What would be, if you could just tell them like one or two quick sentences, what you would give them?
Yeah, I I'm talking into the wrong mic. I really agree with the steps, right? And so the way that you have it laid out, with a clear path to customers, and then getting into the next step, into the next step, into the next step, and learning these things one at a time. I mean, I don't know what I would have done had I not had this sales process. I don't know how I could have survived and been as successful had I been spending so much time, an hour with each person, and or putting in bids, and then following up on those bids, et cetera, et cetera. So just looking at it one piece at a time, rather than being overwhelmed by the entirety of the process. That would be that is the way that I got it to work for me.
Absolutely. And I think right now, starting with the conversation is the most important, because when you're having conversation with other folks, you're helping them. Even if you hang up after that 10-minute call, they're going to walk away with a little bit more life. Oh, maybe I should start doing something instead of waiting for this storm to pass, which doesn't look like it's going to pass. Maybe I should go connect with more folks, and then to actually have a specific process to it. So it's really easy, because a lot of people might
Mm.
be saying, how the heck do you do this in 10 minutes? That's exactly why we do the Wow Client Webcast, so we can teach people how to do that. So I'm thankful. Todd, we're out of time now, but if anybody wants to connect with you, or I know we're both active, so please put comments here. If there are other questions or things you want us to talk about on this show, we're happy to entertain that. I'm going to continue to bring guest after guest of what they're doing during this time, so that we can prosper. And that means helping others while we're taking care of ourselves. Because if your business closes, or you run out of funds, then how are you going to help anyone else? So it is a little self-care, or a lot of self-care, while we're helping other people on the planet right now. So thank you again, Todd, for coming on the show. And to everyone out there, I really hope this is helpful. And we look forward to hearing your feedback. Thanks again, Todd.
Thank you.